Hey guys, welcome to Jeli-Space. Recently went out to the dark side and shot the Pleiades, or M45, and I'm just going to go ahead and stack this. I'm going to use a program called Siril for that, and then I'm going to touch it up in another program called GIMP, which is a graphics processing software, kind of similar to Photoshop, but it's free, as is Siril. This isn't going to be a step-by-step tutorial. If you're interested in that, for using either one of those programs, let me know and I'll see what I can make in that regard. But this is just quick and dirty, just having fun. So we'll go ahead and get started here. So I have all my light frames, and then I have all my calibration frames. And to use Siril, we kind of have to do a little interesting file management, because it likes to have the folders all labeled. So I'm going to make a new folder here, and then what I'm going to need to do is we're going to go into our lights, and we'll just start with red. You can see here each photo was shot in a sequence, just RGB, just repeating over and over again. And on Windows, if I hit Control A, it'll select every file. But what I want to do is get R's. So I'll search R, and then I'll hit Control A. And that's not going to work for search results. There we go. I had to click in the body here. And then I'm going to open up our new folder as well. I'm just going to make a new folder called Lights. And then just to keep my previous light folder kind of untouched, I'm just going to copy these and paste them. And then whenever I'm ready to move on to green or blue, I'll just delete these and copy those in. So we have our lights. So we'll close this for now. Next, we're going to need our calibration frames. So we're going to have another folder called darks, and they all have to be labeled this way for Siril to recognize them. Another one called bias, and another one called flats. And these are all calibration. If you're unaware, you have to take photos with your camera at different settings, and that shows where there might be bad pixels or inherent noise in the camera, and or dust motes or hair or any imperfections on the different filter wheels. So this is to help calibrate those out so they won't be in the final image. So now that I have all these folders built, I'm going to open up my calibration frames, and I'm going to do the same thing. I've already taken all these for RGB. So here's all my flats, and these are pictures of every single filter. So we're going to start with red. So go in here. I'm going to Control R, and again just copy, and then I'm going to go into my flats, and same thing, this is per filter, so Control V and paste that in there. And then we'll go to darks. The darks is just pictures off the sensor, so we can leave these. So open up my darks, Control A, copy, paste. And then again, those aren't filter dependent, so they can just stay there. And then our biases. And this is like picking up the digital noise in the sensor, taking the picture as fast as possible. So these also will stay. So the only ones we're going to have to be concerned about changing each time is the lights and the flats. Okay, so just to verify, we got our biases, darks, flats, and lights. So we are now ready to open up Siril and get this thing going here. Alright. So first thing we're going to do is come up here to the home, and this is going to dictate our directory. So we're on the desktop. And I didn't name it, it was new folder. So here's all of it. So we just get into the folder, we don't click down into these, and this is going to be our working directory, so we're going to hit open. And then image processing, and as long as we have named those folders correctly, this should work. I'm sorry, not image processing, scripts. And we're going to do mono processing because this is a mono camera. If we had a color camera, that would be this one shot color. OCS is what that stands for. Okay, so you want this command prompt up so you can kind of see if you have any errors, and it's looking for needs 4 sets, working directory within these 4 directories. And remember I said the naming is critical, so let's go back in here. Look at that. That needs to be biases. So that's what happened. So let's try running that again. There we go. That's what it should look like. You should see a whole bunch of the fit files getting processed. And of course, depending on how many files you have is going to kind of determine the length, but usually it's in your computer processing power and everything. Usually it's around a minute or 2 for me. So yeah, it tells you right there, 55 minutes and 15 seconds. So let's go ahead and minimize this. And there's our result R. So, and it adds up 2400 seconds. But that is our result for red. So now, remember we're going to go back into our lights. Go to search. We'll do green. So just G, and it's going to pull up all of the ones that are labeled G. Select those. We're going to go into our lights here. Delete. Copy and paste. Just verify we've got all of our greens. 8 of them. And then remember, we have to then go into our calibration frames, which is called our flats. Control A, delete, go into our flats for green, Control A, copy, paste. I'm just using shortcuts on the keyboard, Control C, Control V for Windows. There we go. Now we're ready to go back into Siril. We're just going to do that same one. Okay. Then there's our green. So same thing. We're going to go into flats, delete. And I'll go into next one is B. And then lights. Then back into Siril. And run that script again. There was a little bit of a learning curve with Siril. The first few times I used it is a little confusing. It's actually really simple. The thing that you really need to pay attention to is naming those folders correctly and just setting up that folder with everything in it. And it automatically runs the scripts and pulls it all from that. So that's kind of like the big learning curve to overcome, is just making sure you get the folders and everything named properly. After that, it's pretty automated. There's also Deep Sky Stacker. So far I've been enjoying Siril because of its some of the image processing results, which I'll kind of show some of those off, are pretty handy before you send it to your actual image processing software. Okay, so we have all of our RGB done. So there's our 3 results. So now in Siril, we're going to go to image processing, and we're going to go to scripts, RGB composition. And it's automatically pulling from that same directory. So there's our RGB result right there. So it just stacked all that together for you. And now we'll go to open and open it up. And this is what every astrophotography image looks like before you do what they call stretching. So you gotta stretch the image. So just so we can kind of see what we're working with, if we come down here and click on auto stretch, it's going to show us what all's there. Now this is not, again, this is the results you get. This auto stretch is just showing you what's there, but it's not applying the stretch to the image. I'm going to just do this auto stretch so I can kind of see what's going on. And then I'm just going to use a few of the things that I like, which this one, color calibration, photometric color calibration, and then you're going to get this, and you're going to type in what your target was, M45. I'm going to hit find, and it's actually going to plate solve this image and find the target for you. And then it's going to kind of correct things. So we're going to hit OK. See, it just kind of cleans it up just a little bit, and we'll close. Now that's actually going to apply to the photo, just not the stretch. So next, I like to remove green noise. If there's any light pollution or anything, green tends to be or if you have one-shot color, it tends to be the one that kind of sticks out the most. So we'll just hit apply. I'm not going fancy into all the settings. I'm just doing the base stuff. And then the last one I really like is noise reduction. See if I can find a good example. In this image, this noise reduction, it's really good at finding hot pixels, or what they call like salt and pepper. And my sensor does have some on it. Sometimes you gotta hunt around. This is actually a pretty clean photo because it was it was very cold at night. So this is there's not much noise, so that's a good thing. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do that. And you see it says remove salt and pepper noise. Yeah, I'm not going to mess with anything else, just hit apply. Okay. Ooh. So clearly something wrong there. So I'm going to Control Z and just undo that. And since I didn't really see much sensor noise in there anyway, let's just leave it like that. So we're going to hit save. Now, remember our image still looks like this, but all that stuff was done in the background. So we're going to close Siril, and now we're going to open up this in a program called GIMP, which is, again, it's kind of like Photoshop. Okay, so our image looks similar, and we're going to go up here, and because this is already RGB, we don't have to do anything other than stretch it. So we're going to go to levels. You're going to get this little window here, and in our histogram, all the data is over here. So we don't want to, the stars and everything are already going to be incredibly bright. We don't need to make them any brighter, so we're just going to grab our midtone slider and move that over to the data point. I'm going to get pretty close. Right there. We're going to hit OK, and then we're going to do that again. Now whatever tool you just recently opened, if you just click out here, it'll bring up that same dialog. And there's our data right there. So now we're going to bring the darks back over, and we don't want to bring it too far because it'll lose some of the depth of the clouds and everything. But we're kind of going in between that peak, moving these around. Something like that. And then we can start playing with our other things here. So exposure, you can kind of brighten it up, or you can push your blacks up a little bit. Everyone always wants to push the black really hard, but I'd encourage you to kind of leave it a little bit lighter than you'd expect, because I like to see all this dust and nebulosity out here. Maybe just a little more. You have your brightness and contrast. Brightness is what it is. Contrast can give you a little bit more depth. Just so you can kind of see the two. Kind of bring that brightness back just a little bit. Kind of bring out those blues. Shadows and highlights. So if you bring these highlights down a little bit, you can actually take away a little bit of that star bloat. But you don't want to do it too much, because then you start getting this weird black hole looking thing going on. And your white point adjustment can kind of help bring out some of that cloud structure out here. And then the radius and compress is going to be kind of like how much of that effect is being done. I just kind of leave it alone. Okay. And then your hue chroma, if you really want to like push the colors up, you can bring up this chroma, and it's gonna like way crazy saturate it. So we don't really want to do that. If we bring this up just a few clicks to kind of bring out the natural color that's already there, but we're not going to go crazy with it. And then the hue is going to change like the temperature of the color, and yeah, we don't really want to mess with that either. And then last thing, so this is looking pretty good. You just kind of zoom in and look at all this. So cool, so pretty. Go to our enhance, and then if we, I always like to do the split view so I can kind of see what I'm working with here and slide it back and forth. But if we sharpen it just a little bit, if you look here, the cloud structure, you can see a little bit more of the detail there. Just with a little bit of a sharpen, not too much. You don't want it to get grainy looking. Yeah. again, go to Enhance, and we can do a little bit of noise reduction. And again, playing with this back and forth, you can kind of see what difference it's going to make them. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. But, you know, you can play around with this. Whenever you go to save this, you can do save as and just name it something new, or export, make it in a different file format. So you can do export as M45 RGB version 1, because you know how we like to always go back and do it again and again and again. And then we can name it JPEG, and then hit export. That's going to ask you what level of quality you want. Of course, the higher you put this up, the bigger it's going to be, so it might be hard to share on your social medias, but I think usually around 90 or 80 will be a decent sized file that you can still share around. And the cool thing is, if you X out of here, you can discard all the changes and start over with the raw results again. And keep playing with it until your heart's content. So yep, there it is. And so on and so forth. Now let's look at our and there's our JPEG. Nice. But there's lots of other things you can do. This hobby's never ending. The rabbit hole just gets deeper. So yeah, 7 megabytes. That's a nice size you can share. All right. Y'all take care.